All right. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining. Welcome to the MicroWise monthly user group. And today we going to summarize some of the best features that happened to Medisoft since version 21. But we're not limited to that. If you have any questions, we have a small group today. You can unmute yourself and ask questions. Let's get started. This is my contact information. My name is Robert Gabriel. I'm President and CEO of MicroWise Technology. And I also have a few people with MicroWise. I think I have Kim and I have Rosemary, which is actually I'm going to introduce later. Disclaimer, anything you learn in this seminar, you need to verify yourself. MicroWise cannot be held responsible for any loss of data or revenue. This seminar is being recorded and it will be made public. So today we're talking about the best features that happened to Medisoft. So let's get started. Actually, today is the first time I'm going to be showing version 26. So hopefully as it's still in beta, that nothing bad happens, as usually new versions are. And that's why we delay on giving out the new feature or the new version. So if you were part of the cloud, you're going to see that you will be contacted to be upgraded when we feel the product is stable. Okay, so let's see some of the features that we're going to be talking about. So some of the features that we're going to be talking about is searching by date of birth. So searching by date of birth, you were able to do that in Medisoft before, but you had to go out of your way to be able to search by date of birth. A lot of people, when you call a busy practice, it's a very common thing that they use is give me the date of birth and they narrow it down because unfortunately, a lot of people have this similar names, or you don't have to ask how to spell it or with a different accent. It's easier to know how to search by date of birth because numbers are usually easier. So to do that, if you click on the loop here, you will see something here that we never had before. You were able to do date of birth, but you had to go out of your way with the question mark here and do that. But now it's one of the key index that you have. So once you do that, and as you're typing down the date of birth, so let's say if I'm typing 1/1, you see how it narrows it down by all the ones that getting closer to that date. So you're able, just like you've done with the name, you can narrow it down now by the date of birth. So hopefully this has helped you find patients much quicker. And of course, you can search this from the scheduler, or you can search that from the transaction entry. The next thing is something that we've been having for a few versions, which is the Medicare MBI. And the Medicare MBI, it's an indication that tells you if the number that you're using is valid or not. So for example, let's say if I'm using the Medicare number, and if the insurance type is Medicare, so let's say somebody made a mistake and instead of the 7.2, they put 7Z. Now, see how it turns into yellow? Because it's not meeting the syntax of what a policy number would be. So once you change this to a number, it doesn't validate if the ID is eligible or not, but it tells you if the syntax is right or wrong. So if you transpose a letter with a number or a number with a letter in the wrong position, it will turn to yellow or it turns to green. This is something that you will see only when the Medicare policy number is an actual Medicare status or Medicare type. The next thing is a small balance write-off. So there's multiple ways where you can write off balances. One of the easiest way is the smallest balance write-off. And the small balance write-off, it could be, so if you go here and you will see here something called a small balance write-off. So the small balance write-off is, first you need to pick the code that you want. Then you need to pick the dollar amount and the cutoff date. So let's say if I say I want to write off anybody that owes me balance as of end of the year, that is $5 or less. Okay, once you do that and you do hit apply, it goes and it scans your database, and it tells you, then it comes up with all the accounts that meets. If I don't have anything less than $5, so let me make this $500. Okay, So it comes undefined. This is patient responsibility balances, not insurance. This is patient responsibility balance. And it comes back and it shows you all the ones. And you can pick and choose which one you want. And if you want to select them, you can select them, then write them off, and it will go and write them off. Now, this is great if you're this, I can go and make this any dollar amount I want. And this could be from 2019, for example. And I can write off anything that it's really old, that's been sitting on my account. You don't want to have too many old balances sitting on your account, because you're going to confuse patient if you send them statements. So a lot of people don't send statements to patient because their balances are not correct. And I don't want you to do that, because more and more patients have skin in the game. And you don't want to cheat yourself or your practice of not collecting that patient balances because you didn't have the time to fix your accounts. You didn't have the time to write off things from 2 years ago. And if you send it, then patient calls you and complain and make you look bad. So something like that, it's an easy tool that you can write off things from whatever time you want, and you can just get it done with. Once you make this happen, you cannot reverse it unless you go to each transaction and remove it. So what is it going to do? If, let's say, if the patient owes you wrote off $71, and it goes and make it, let's say a patient has a balance of $71 positive, or it goes and makes a negative adjustment of the SMWO, which is small balance write-off, and it will make a negative $71, and now makes the account balance zero. However, those two transactions will still be in the books, the negative $71. So it's just making the account zero. It's not deleting the charge. And if you ever want to reverse that, either you have to restore from a backup, or you have to delete that negative $171 that you just made. The next thing is something that we had in the last version, which is transaction entry alert. What is transaction entry alert? Is if you ever have a situation where you have an insurance company that when you use a particular diagnosis or a particular CPT code, or a combination between a CPT code and diagnosis, or two diagnoses together, or two CPT codes together, you can get an alert. And what is this going to do? This is an internal transaction alert. You don't need to submit to the clearinghouse. You need to scrub in Revenue Manager. This is on the spot type of alert. So this is great for having an experienced biller set up transaction alerts and have anybody enter transactions and be able to use the expertise that a senior biller built over the years, and able to be alerted of certain situation. You just need to build those alerts. So to build those alerts, you need to go on the list, and you will go into transaction entry alert, and you need to build it. So you need to go to new, you're going to give it a name. Then you will need to say, all right, you will need to give it description, what this alert is, then which insurance company. So it could be pertain to an insurance company. It could be pertain to a provider with an insurance company. It could be primary insurance, could be secondary insurance, could be tertiary insurance. That it could be particular facility. So if you put something there, that means you're narrowing down the condition. If you leave it blank, you widen down the condition. So you will saying that maybe when I'm using this particular CPT code, I need to have a modifier. So you can have a modifier alert here. So that will alert you if you're missing the modifier. So you build it here. It could be pertain to an insurance company or not. It could be pertain to a diagnosis. It could be pertain to a CPT code, or all of the above. Then it will be either if it's present to give you an error, or if it's missing to give you an error. So do you need it or you don't need it? So there's when it's missing or when it's present. When it's missing, when it's present. When it's missing or it's present. So you go ahead and build that logic. And now, from now on, anybody can enter transaction into your Medisoft, and they will have the same knowledge as an expert senior biller that knows or remembers, has a great memory, that remembers, oh, when you have this CPT code with this diagnosis, with this modifier, when this insurance company happens, then you need to have this or you need not to have that. So building all of that is a great way to capture the knowledge that a senior biller has, or consultant, or when you remember how things work. So even if it's an insurance that you use once in a blue moon, so instead of getting rejected and submit the claim and find out later that you got rejected, you can build it here. So before it even goes to the clearinghouse, it will alert you on the spot. The next item is insurance card scanning. So Medisoft has been adding different ways of insurance card scanning. So some of the ways that they added, so let me just show you here. Number one is you can actually scan the insurance card directly from your Medisoft if your computer is connected to a scanner. I do get people ask me what kind of scanner you recommend. So I will, let me just point you to that once I'm done with this. I will show you which scanner I recommend. And you can scan directly from Medisoft inside your Medisoft case. You can scan the insurance card, or you can actually scan the driver's license. And if you ever want to zoom in on that driver's license or insurance card, you just double click on the image. Now I can print that image, or I can rotate it, I can crop it, whatever I want with it. Now, to get that image inside your thing is you click on the scan. If you have the scanner connected, you hit scan and it will go inside here. If you have a network scanner, and that network scanner is already saved the image somewhere on the network, you click on scan and you click on load from file. Then you point where the file is, and now you can just open it and you will see it there. So this is one of you're going to notice that there's new features here where it says duplexing image. So one of the paid feature of this here is you can actually let the software recognize the characters and the numbers, and it populates it for you inside the Medisoft. Now that's a paid feature, so this is not a scanning feature. You need to have the proper scanner, but it's a paid feature to be able to do the optical character recognition that will populate that data for you. So if you're a very busy practice where you don't have the time to have somebody keying in that information, you can have the OCR do that work for you. So those are the optical character recognition and the scanning with the duplexing, and you can scan directly into the Medisoft. Now, if you ask the question, where do I get the scanner from? So if I Google here, so it's on MicroEye's website, but I'm just going to do it here. I'm searching. Sometimes Google is faster to find it for me. So if you go into here, and there's a section here for the scanning, and this is the scanner that I highly recommend. This is a local scanner that connects to one computer, and we do sell them at MicroEyes, or you can buy them yourself. Those are expensive scanners, so those are recycled scanners or refurbished. So you instead of paying $1,200, you can actually get it for under $500 if this is something that you want. So you can buy this new for about $1,200 or refurbished for under $500. This price here, it including the MicroEye setup and the support for 30 days. So this is the scanner I recommend. There's a lower end scanners. This is for like a very light office. So this is something that you can also get if you don't have a high volume. When I say high volume, if you scan more than 10 insurance cards per day, I would rather you get this. This is one of the best scanners in the industry. The next features we're going to talk about the AR tracker. The AR tracker is actually one of my favorite feature. Spoke about it many times, and I will still speak about it because the AR tracker is a money generating feature. So if you please make sure you're using it in your practice. So let me talk about what the AR tracker. In the old days, we always printed an aging report on on the printer. So maybe 200 pages, 300 pages, 500 pages. And people made phone calls, they looked up the number and they made phone calls and they wrote notes on the report. And before you know it, the month sneaks up on you, and then there's a new information comes into the system. You need to print another report. Then you have an old set of aging report and a new set of aging report. And now if you have somebody who's helping you in the office, then everything is disconnected because what you have on the report is different from what's in the system. They need to ask you questions, and it's not the most efficient way. The most efficient way is having an interactive information in the system, that it's always up to date, that it's always refreshable, and it's green because you don't use the oldest printing paper to do the printing. So to go to the AR tracker is you click on this here, AR tracker. Then you have a few options here. I can narrow it down by which type of insurance, primary, secondary, or tertiary. I can filter on a particular status, or I can filter for date of service. For example, if you are a billing service and you inherited a new practice where the aging was neglected, they haven't posted payment, or vice versa. I've seen practices taking databases from billing services that was also neglected. So if whoever is the guilty party here, payment was not posted or things were neglected, you can narrow down a particular date of service, which is a lot easier to do here than to do into an aging report. So because I don't have much data here, I'm just going to leave it with very little filters. The more filter you add, the less data you're going to get. So I'm going to hit apply here. Then it will show you by provider. So it will show you by provider all the open items. Then I see these boxes here where I can now go by insurance. Then I can sort, and it catches the unbilled when something has not made it to a claim yet, electronically or paper. It's something setting that it didn't go out. So you can catch things from falling through the cracks, especially during the deductible season where some people are holding on claims. You can always see how much you are holding on and you haven't billed. So now I'm not saying you do that, but I see a lot of people do that. And you can sort, then you can drill down. So I'm able to drill down and I see the patients that have open balance. So I see that most of that balance is coming from Dwight and Simpson. So now say I want to go to Dwight and I want to see what's going on with Dwight. Or let's go to Simpson here. Okay, and I see now all the transactions that makes up that transaction. Now I can also do things like this. I can right click my mouse and I can add an AR note and I can type whatever note I want and put a date on it and put a task list. So my boss or the doctor can go back and see how hard I work on this. And when I click on view AR note, I will see the date stamp here with every message I typed in there. And if you ever want to see the transaction, I can go and see the transaction, or I can actually see the claim itself. I can see which batch did it go on, how many times I submitted it, when is the last time I submitted it, all the stuff that you normally know about your claim, except here I have something new here, the AR tracker or the AR management, and you can also see this transaction, or you can see this information from the patient information itself. So highly recommended, just be careful. If you ever delete this claim, you will lose that history. So you don't want to delete the claim for whatever reason, because you would have to build that information again. So that's the only flaws with this here, that if you ever deleted that claim for whatever reason, you will lose that history. But other than that, is that history will stay with you. And it's an interactive information. It's much more efficient than writing it down on your AR report and having to consolidate between all the aging that you have over the month or over the time, and wasting all that paper, wasting the communication between you and staff. Doesn't matter now. People work remotely from many places, and having that information at your fingertip, where the doctor might be in a different location or the biller might be a different location, everything is consolidated here. Okay, speaking about different location, the next features I'm going to talk about is the patient kiosk, or the Medisoft mobile app. So the Medisoft mobile app has been with us for about 5-6 years, and it's been enhanced over the years. So I have a little recording here that I'm going to play. Then I will open the floor for any questions.
Patient Kiosk, one of my favorite. Patient Kiosk, it's also known as mobile app, which does three things. Number one, it lets you add or view appointment from an iPad or a smartphone. It lets you enter the super bill electronically, and it could be from the office or it could be from anywhere you want that has internet connection. Third is it lets you handle patient intake. So patient can enter their own information. They can modify their information. They can sign consent. So let me show you that in real life. Okay, so the mobile app is going to look like this. You will get your prompt. This is the same username and password. You will log into your own practice, and you have three things. This here is appointment. This here is to super bill, and this is the patient kiosk or intake. So let's do the appointment first. So when you click on appointment, I get to see the same appointment that I see in Medisoft. So if you are from home, or maybe you want to have somebody answering the phone while they're walking around, they can actually have this, and they can just add an appointment as simple as pick the spot, look at the patient, and once they pick the patient, they can pick the reason. Why the reason is they can add a different note, and it takes the same colors and same information that you have. And if I open my office hours, now in Medisoft, I'm going to see this appointment that were entered. I can just go through different days. I can change the provider if I have multiple providers. So going back now, when I look up the patient, so let's say the patient is, I'm doing Amy here, and now I can add a charges for Amy. So this could be great for if you're billing company and your provider is not electronically connected to you. You can do that. So now doesn't matter if that provider in-house or outside, that provider can pick the CPT code and diagnosis. So I'm going to hit submit. Then now I can pick the provider. I can have multiple provider. I can choose what facility this happened, and I can add a modifier. I can add different modifier for different codes. Then I will hit submit. And now that bill will get into for me from Medisoft. I'm going to show you in a minute. And now the best part here is I can make patient to get occupied and to get them interactive with me in the practice while they're waiting in the waiting room. So one of the things here I'm going to just show you is, let's say that patient that I have on the screen, Amy, she can verify her own information. She can change something, different section. All of this gets into your Medisoft payment responsibility. Who's responsible for this? Review my emergency contact, verify what insurance, medical history. I can just add or modify what problems you have. Those questions here are totally customizable. You can have as many or as little as you want. Then the forms, you can have as many or as little as you want. And now the patient can click on the form, they can read it and accept it. And that's a legally binding signature that's all tracked into your Medisoft. So when I click on it now, all of this are done. I'm the patient, this is my name, and continue to the next section, I'm done. It locks the iPad, and now they cannot get into another patient. Now it's time to give this iPad back to the staff. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to show you what happened to my information in Medisoft. In Medisoft, you have a couple things. One is of course, the appointment is the same appointment that I have. So the appointment that I entered, it just gets entered in here for you. So this is a real-time connection between your appointment. And it doesn't matter if you are in the office or on the road, you get to see the same thing. The other thing here under activity, pending patient, any patient that were modified, anything in yellow that means it was modified, and it shows you if it was, what was it in before and what is it now. So you get to choose and you okay it if you want to okay it, and you can, look at things like that. And finally is the unprocessed charges. So the super bill that came to me electronically, I get to see it from here. It's all green. That means the codes they used is correct. And if it's not, I can go and review it. So I see this good. they use 99213 and they have that. And all I have to do is just hit post. And now this gets entered, it gets removed from here. I want to do this one. Again, this is the two codes I did. One is correct, one is not correct. So one of the codes that I used here is not in the system. So if I change it to a different code and I hit post, and now it goes in, and now anytime you see the red X, that means there's an issue with the code. I really love this because it's going to make you more efficient. It's going to, we are used to enter our own information when we book an airline ticket or a Broadway show or anything like that. It's time for patient to get involved and to help you with the data entry and occupy them so they're not complaining about the long wait or the lengthy, like a lot of practice, they have a 20-page intake form that they need to print from their website and sign and do it at home. And most people don't do it. But here, and then you have to enter that information in the system again. It's not productive. This is more productive because you're doing it once and it's going into the system for you. You just review it. When you review it, it takes a lot less time than if you're doing it from scratch or you're copying from a form.
The next feature that I'm going to talk about is a patient engagement product. It's a Vosita, and I have with me on the line Rosemary Bright. Some of you might be familiar with Rosemary. She only worked for MicroWise for 13 years. Now she is the Director of Business Development at Vosita. Vosita is actually a sister company to MicroWise, and we developed Vosita to help you as a practice to gain more business for your practice, so you can make it easier to network with your other doctors and easier to find new patients, so you're not a victim of acquisitions by large monster hospitals or being pressured to sell out to other large practice or hospitals. So hopefully this will help you. Without further ado, I want to introduce Rosemary.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Just wanted to thank Robert and the team at MicroWise for having me back on board and representing Vosita. I'm very excited to be part of the startup, and more importantly, I'm excited to be working again with our Medisoft and Litech customers. So I'm pumped for the opportunity. Also want to talk about Vosita is truly the only solution that integrates with office hours. And it just makes the scheduling process so much easier for the patient, along with the front staff, so that they're managing their time a little differently, and they can allocate some of those phone calls to follow up and things of that nature. They can allocate that time towards other things, as calling patients back into the practice or as, reminders. So there's so many different ways that we can help utilize the Vosita platform to really maximize and make our team even much more efficient. Again, it's the only solution that integrates with Medisoft fully, and we're just excited to offer this platform to our much loved Medisoft community, and that's that. So if anybody's interested, Robert had a slide up that showed my contact information. I'd love to help out the office. I can easily create the profile, give you a quick tutorial on how to list appointments, and we can take it from there. So thank you once again for the opportunity. And Robert, back to you.
Okay, so let me, I see that we have a few questions before, but I will get to the questions in 1 second. But let me just present what Vosita is. So we call Vosita as the open table for physicians. So what does that mean? It's just like you might be dining out and be able to find out what restaurant had, when we used to go to restaurant, what restaurant have a table, maybe you pick by cuisine or pick by location or by reviews. The same thing patient can do here. They either can search for the specialty, or they can search for the location, or they can search for what insurance they take. And let's say they can either pick between virtual visit, which is a telemedicine, or an office visit. So by hitting search, you will be able to find which providers that has availability open. So once you find a provider you want, so let's take Dr. Boyd, for example, and I'm booking Dr. Boyd, then you log in and this is a real doctor, I'm not gonna really book it, but that's how easy it is. You can book, and that slot will be removed or occupied at Medisoft, so you're not double booking patients at the same time. So another way of doing this is if I go to Dr. Boyd's website, and from his website, he says, you want to register or book me online or virtual by clicking here. Now it's going to Dr. Boyd's profile at Vosita, and you're able to see the availability, and the patient will be able to book. So this is going to help you. A patient can wake up 2 o'clock in the morning and able to see what availability you have tomorrow for a virtual visit or office visit, and able to pick which one they want and be able to book it, and makes it more convenient for you and for your patient to book on the spot. Another thing is you can gain new patients, because somebody might be looking for a patient where you never met that patient before, and you're able to attract new patients to find your practice. This doesn't cost you anything. It's all free, and there's no reason that not everybody's on this. So regardless if you need virtual visit or telemedicine or an office visit, everybody can use this. And I will put Rosemary's contact information if you want to sign up. Here's her contact information again. I forgot to put your phone number. But
I was just going to say that, Robert. Where's my phone number and my email address?
Give me your phone number so I can put it now.
Yeah, 551-220-4420.
Okay, great.
Thank
And the other thing is, I have a question. The question was, how do for the patient kiosk or the patient the Medisoft Mobile, how much is it? So if you're in the cloud, there's no charge for it. You need to be on a network version of Medisoft. You cannot do this with a single user of Medisoft. If you have your own database in your own office, there is a setup fee, but there's no monthly fee. I think its setup fee is about $500. Because we need to configure your firewall, and we need to configure your templates, and we need to configure your forms. But if you are in the cloud, it's included. You don't need to pay anything for adding up, but you need to be on a network version. The good news is you could have, so let's say if I'm a billing company and I have 3 providers, all 3 providers could be using this mobile app on the road, and it counts as one user license. Okay, so you don't need to pay a user license for each provider. Or I could be a practice where the doctor has an iPhone, or the nurse has an iPad, and the patient is using an iPad to do the intake, and all of this mobile licenses count as one license. So it's actually a very good deal, because you don't have to pay per user to do this. All the mobiles, all the practices, if you have more than one practice, is count as one license. Okay. Any other questions? Well, if you have no other questions, this is my contact information. You're welcome to email me or call me later. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I want to thank you so much for your business, and stay healthy and safe, everybody. And thank you so much again. Have a wonderful day. You should be getting a message for the recording within a few days. Thank you.
you, Robert.
Bye-bye.